foresee weeks that are so much smoother, easier for me. So it's all selfish.
In a good way.
In a good way, yes. So let me get all my accoutrements set up here. And I can see some little tweaks and adjustments that we're going to need to make. And that's okay, because have you guys ever moved the furniture at home? And then you just, that's not going to work at all. Well, that's nice. Do you like that? All right, we're gonna make a little adjustment here. Thank you for that, Trina. All right. You know, I used to say this when I would come to Unity of Flagstaff. I'd say, I'm going to rearrange the furniture. And I did. And then I came permanently, and look what I've done. I've actually rearranged the furniture completely. Right? All right. So, we'll try to tether me to this little stand here. We know how that works, don't we? So your life is, it doesn't. I don't do well tethered, do I? How are we doing? Deep breath, if you would, please. Take one for yourselves and then take one for me. You know, your life is about you and your God alone. And I love that quote by, and the name of this individual is Sunday Adalahala. Your life is about you and God alone. How's that feel? How's it feel when you're in that space? When you know that you are in perfect alignment to hear your divine guidance. Have you ever had one of those moments? I had at least two when I knew I was in perfect alignment. It's amazing the way it feels. I received the call, and they said, we would like to offer you the position at Unity of Flagstaff. I knew. I was aligned. We talk about all the stars being aligned. We talk about all the planets being aligned. We talk about retrograde and all these things. But there is a sense that comes over you that you know there is no place else, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, you could possibly be and be having that experience. Now, how would you feel about feeling that way every day? I'm in. Trust me, it's a daily journey for me to get back to that spot that I know I'm in the perfect place. That I know I am divinely guided, that I am aligned with the one power, the one presence. And today, the talk is this. The message that came through for me this week is this. Who is God to you anyway? Penny, Helen, Alice, Marcia, who is God to you anyway? Now, a lot of us come from different backgrounds, and we were told different stories about who God was in our life. We were told what appearance we were to have. We even have some great images. The clouds, the guy with the big beard, big robe, always male. Ever notice that? And those are okay. Because I think for me, what was needed was I needed a visual. I was just a baby in this soul growth thing. And I come from a visual world. I needed to be told and have an image that I could hang on to. And then as my soul grew, it started to push that image out of my vision. I noticed that there was less and less room for something so static as that definition. My soul hungered for something dynamic and living within me. And I started to discover the personal experience, the personal relationship with God. Now, there can be some debris in the room about the word God. So I'll make you a deal. I'm going to use the word God because that's where I find my level of comfort. But in your amazing computer of a brain, you tweak that to whatever you need to call it. I used to tell my stepchildren, call it God, call it Jesus, call it the Christ, call it Buddha, call it Allah, call it Joe. I don't care what you call it. Just call on it. Know that you are in personal relationship with the power within and all around you. And how does that then define itself as how we show up every day? How does that happen? Now, there are 9 easy steps to building a personal relationship, I found out. I love the internet. And if you read it on the internet, it's true. Come on, is it? Right? However, I have found some interesting things. And in building a personal relationship, there really was 9 easy steps. I thought, well, that's better than 3 easy steps, I guess. Well, it just takes a little longer. But I think personal relationships do take a little longer. And the first thing that they said in building a personal relationship was this: be willing to express your desire to be in a relationship. I thought, wow, that could apply to the relationship with God. I guess I have to show up. I guess I have to say, I'm ready. I guess I have to be willing to open myself to a new way of thinking, to a new thought. We're in new thought, we might as well get one. To be willing to be in relationship. I'm asking you, where in your life do you find yourself with the foot on the brake that you are not willing to allow God to be there? Or Joe, or Buddha, or Allah? Where in your life do you have the foot on the brake? Just one little tweak. It's like the sound. One little tweak. And we're amazing, right? It's like parking in the snow and finding the spot that is clear. So when you pull out, you're not stuck. One little tweak of my thinking from Southern California to Flagstaff. One little tweak. That's what it takes to be willing. I venture to guess in your life, there are a couple spots, maybe just one. Maybe you're there, maybe you got it covered. If you need one, I'll give you one of mine. Those spots that you have your foot on the brake to the willingness to be in a personal relationship with God. So the next thing they tell me is this: look for a person or people who have similar interests and values. Do you think God has your best interest in mind? Do you ever, in the back of your mind, have that thought that God's out to get you? Do you ever have one of those days that you think, really? I do. I have a moment like that probably every day. I am really impressed if you don't have a moment like that once in a while. In fact, we need to talk. In fact, here's my microphone. When we just say, really? This has to go this way? As if there is some great force, as if that big guy with the big beard is going, like God, the universe, the infinite has time to worry if I brought the right shoes. And I say, really? Like-mindedness is easy when we think about a personal relationship with an entity, with God, with whatever it is that brings you to the greatest expression of who you are, and a place of peace, that deep peace that no matter what's going on, you're there. Florence Scovel Shinn said, "Nothing will disturb the calm peace of my soul," and I am sure she put her hands on her hips and she said nothing. This is what can happen when you are willing and when you align and remember that the universe is ever conspiring to bring you to your highest and best. You get to start creating a personal relationship that goes like this. Hey God, how's it going? So I was just considering how amazing this space is. I was just considering how incredible this amazing Flagstaff that you've moved me to is. And you know what? I just wanted to throw it out there. I appreciate that. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to align my thoughts to that higher good for myself. So, hey God, how's it going? This is not irreverent. This is connecting. This really is your BFF, your best friend forever. When was the last time you considered God that? Just a thought. And then consider availability. Well, that seems pretty easy when it comes to God, because we believe omnipresent, omnipresence, omnipotent. You know, Unity used to be called the Church of Omni. Yeah. Everywhere, all the time. Everywhere, all the time. Everywhere, all the time. Available. I have some of the best friends in the world. But I will tell you, there will be a moment at which I need someone and they are not available. And that's just the human condition. I encourage you to strategize about being in alignment and pulling God in as a personal relationship. You will never feel alone. You will never not have that connection when you need it. And if you need to be reminded, that's what these rooms are for. That's what these communities are for. To remind you of the availability of God and how easy it would be to move into a personal relationship when we consider ever available, ever present, in all forms. Sometimes it's the guy standing at the corner that says, "We'll work for food." And I remember how amazing God is. And my best friend shows up because it's right there in the divinity of that individual. I get to see God because my default thought, my presence to the personal relationship with God, is in the forefront of my mind most days, most moments, but not always. But that's okay, because God will be there. And the manner in which you approach that personal relationship, is it on your knees and begging? There's not room for that in a personal relationship. You wouldn't have a best friend that you had to get on your knees and beg for them to support you. I wouldn't. I think they call that dysfunctional. Ever present. And the way that I approach that ever present relationship with God is knowing that it is the universe's absolute joy to give me the kingdom right here, right now, heaven on earth. I don't have to wonder about that. I don't have to wonder about that. How does that feel? Where in your life could that plug in and make a difference? Where? Do you see it? Do you see it at all? You can nod. You know, I was blessed when Marcia said to me, she said, "Sometimes, you know, your enthusiasm makes me feel like I should be excited." I said, "Yeah, I know." I love that comment.
I'm scared of it.
I'm scared sometimes. That's all right. I haven't hurt anybody in a long time. So practice listening to the person you're interested in. Another way to build a personal relationship. Practice listening. I love this quote by Keating. God's first language is silence. Take that in. God's first language is silence. Prayer is me talking to God, and meditation is God talking to me. And it can be when I'm doing the dishes. It can be when you're stuck in the snow. God's first language is silence. Create a deeper personal relationship by being able to be interested and present in what you're hearing and knowing, and those nudges, and sometimes in my case, those kicks that you have to get. And then they tell us this: ask questions. It feels pretty good, for me anyway, when we're talking about a personal relationship with God. Ask and you will receive. Ask questions. So God, what about this? So God, how am I doing? So God, what can I do for you today? Ask questions. Ask questions for the deeper personal relationship. So God, how are you doing? How are you doing? Listen and ask questions. And remember the details. You know, there's nothing more that we like than to be remembered. We like to be remembered. It's so cool when somebody remembers your birthday, or they remember that you had an event in your life and they ask about it. Remember the details. And when we're talking about a personal relationship with God, we're talking about the details of all the good that has been given to you, all the good that you have manifested through the power of your own thoughts and aligning with the divine mind of God. Remember the details. And it just comes down to this, folks. Thank you. It just comes down to that. Remember the details and be willing to let your guard down. One of the most powerful things in building a personal relationship, and all that translates into, is this: surrender. Not giving up. It's giving way to the greater good. It's not this. It's this. I'm open. I surrender. And then, of course, you can't have a personal relationship with anyone if you're not willing to forgive. And in this relationship with God, the first thing we have to do is forgive ourselves. Forgive ourselves when we forget to remember. Forgive ourselves when we forget to connect. Forgive ourselves when we just mess it up. Isn't it delightful to be human? And God is ever willing. Spirit is ever willing to be present to that humanness that we are so good at expressing, and giving us the opportunity to look at it so it can be transformed into a greater expression. And last but not least, remember that the relationship is not here to make you happy. The relationship is not here to make you happy. Happiness is still an inside job. It doesn't matter who you're in a relationship with. It doesn't matter if you have the closest, grandest personal relationship with God that you can even imagine and beyond. Happiness, joy is an inside job. And when you have that personal connection, it's easier to be reminded, to reach out and remember that you are one with all. And in this development of this personal relationship with God, God will allow you to suffer if you so choose. Happiness is an inside job. My prayer for you folks is this: in those places in your life when you've got your foot on the brake and you will allow God to be this close but not this close, I encourage you to consider that today and through this week. Just notice and make an adjustment accordingly. You are one with the divine. You are the expression of that. We affirm that with you. I appreciate you for being here and for being you. Namaste.